on to more situations. Again, on the older sister, she worked at Bell South, Southern Bell at the time on Monroe Street, and eventually she had her own apartment, I guess. But I remember her standing there. She had Barbara Streisand's album, Color Me Barbara, and it was like a dusty rose and sort of a bright chartreuse, something they call that, a wine-colored pink. And she was pregnant. And she was talking about they had gone to New York, Atlantic City, and burnt their bras at the beauty pageant, I guess. She'd gone up, no, and I said, and I'm thinking, dang, I just got my trainer ball. Why would I want to burn it, you know? She said they burned their panties, too. And she said something about down there and stuff. And anyway, at some point, 68, 69, Jeannie was pregnant. And I didn't want to know too much about it. I know she wasn't married. And I didn't get involved, you know. She was the older sister, you know. Anyway, later on, they had German Shepherds they were raising, and she said sometimes dogs have a false pregnancy. And then way later, Mrs. Sex and Mrs. Hogue, Debbie's mom, says, oh, the baby boy was stillborn. And then there's some things, I find it odd, because my friend Bonnie said usually healthy younger people have less miscarriages than older ones, or stillborn or whatever. So I don't know. Anyway, these are stories. And I looked up narcissism. Narcissism is a mental illness that makes you want to control people. You want to, let's take the form of the narcissist. Oh, that sounds horrible. We hate narcissists. Yeah, sure. But there's a reason. They have so much trauma in their lives. And maybe growing up with a bipolar mother who had you out of wedlock, possibly, or before marriage anyway, and not supporting the family well. So at 18, 19, you're having to supplement the income for the family, and it's just putting a lot of control on you. So you want to control things. You're in the women's movement for some reason, which seems diametrically opposed to the guy that worked at NASA. I don't know what she thought. She may have liked him. I don't know. But anyway, so this is the older sister. She becomes very controlling. So the mother, trying to hide her manic depression in the regular neighborhood, and they called her the gay divorcee, you know. But anyway, yeah, that's right. They did call her that. So if the older sister becomes very controlling, we'll call it. And maybe it's a vulnerable narcissism because of the trauma that's going on through your life. That even to this day, other than Debbie saying, don't obsess about something that happened so long ago, one, and Kathleen saying she doesn't want her name associated with him. I don't want to get involved. So we have here things and clues, and I'm not the brightest person. It's hard because this stuff happened, and it's like, okay, there's a whole little quarter of the section. Even Ann Rule says he didn't want people to know in those late 60s where he was and what he was doing. Okay? And that's why I believe he could have flown down and took out Virginia Helms. In the red Volkswagen, he left. I'm not even going to go there. He left Tallahassee in an orange-red Volkswagen. Okay, he had a black one, but I guess he figured it wasn't going to go far enough. He claimed he gave it back because it was dolled up and belonged to a girl. I think he gave it back because he didn't think it would make the trip across to go back on the old trip all the way across the country. The orange Volkswagen might have made it. And he knew ahead of time that guy, the guy was in the service, Gargonsky or whatever his name was. And when you're in the service, you take vehicles out from the motor pool. And you know, one of the ways you would make sure that nothing ever happened, just leave the key in the car. Leave your key in that Jeep. Leave your key in that Jeep. So Bundy knew that key was in that car. And he knew it ahead of time because he had picked it out and that was going to be his vehicle. All right, thank you.